is that helpful for you? Like
Oh, definitely. I
during the
mean,
Oh,
definitely
okay.
it would definitely be an awesome learning experience on my part, just to know that, like,
Yeah.
if it goes well, then it goes well, and if it doesn't, then because I mean,
Right.
it's just a learning experience for
For
me.
sure.
But yeah. Okay, okay. Everything's good. Mike is good. My man Matthew looking handsome. Okay.
It's like the only one of the only purposes for this iPhone. They have good
Really?
cameras. I mean, I can't
Yes,
deny that, but
they do.
that's about it. That's-
That's about it. Oh my goodness.
yeah.
Okay, okay. What's up, y'all? I'm your host, Turner Fernandez, and this is another session of Turner Talks. With me, I got another special guest with me. I got my man, Matthew Kwan, bro. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's a little bit of crazy of a day, but I'm excited. I'm excited to chop it up. Yeah.
Yeah, let's get it up started. Just a little bit about you. What do you do for a living, man?
That's a good question. I'm still figuring that out.
Yeah.
I actually work for an organization called InterVarsity Christian Fellowship. So it's basically working with college students pretty much all around the United States. I work with InterVarsity Link, which is kind of a branch. So there's like connections, there's like InterVarsity internationally. And so I get to connect with college students and fellowships and ministries all around the world, which is really, really cool. Get to talk with people from, different nationalities, different countries, different cultures and everything. Yeah, super pumped about it. But yeah, that's what I do for my day job.
Okay, okay. And you enjoy doing it?
Heck yes. Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. I feel like that's definitely where God's called me to be right now in this moment. Who knows where the future might hold, but yeah, I'm pretty confident that's where he has me. But yeah, I enjoy it. I enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely. When it comes to different people's like opinions and from different cultures, would you say that have you found anyone that's actually like a little bit complicated in a way, either because of there's like some type of cultural difference, or you can't really relate to like a certain problem that one of these like camp or college students have because there's like a certain kind of cultural difference?
I'd say so. Yeah. I mean, I
Mhm.
think that's pretty much everybody that I
For
talk with.
sure.
I mean, people are complicated. We complex, different things. I mean, even I think even within my own family, right? Like there's people different ends. Yeah, it's just like even though you might come from the same context or background, you have different opinions, different ways of responding to things. And so like just working with students over the last 10 years or so, it's definitely have come across those times. I think definitely have stories to tell. There's like one that I could think of that like kind of stands out a little bit more amongst the others. So like we would take groups of students to like different places. Each summer we would kind of do this thing where it's like called it an urban project, but it was basically you just live in the inner city for like 6 weeks at a time and you learn about what's happening in the inner city. Some might call it the hood. It's, just parts of LA that, it's just a little bit, yeah, it's people are struggling, right? And with poverty and food scarcity and stuff like that. And so you basically take students over there, live there in the city for 6 weeks, talk to them, teach them about what's happening in the city and talk about what does the Bible have to say about that kind of thing and what our role is in that. And so I was working with international students at the time. And so we took some students out there and we also had some like American students that were there too. So it was kind of a mixed group. And the American students, they were like walking around the city and stuff, and they see bars on the windows and guard dogs and stuff like that. They see graffiti, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is a different kind of neighborhood.
Yeah.
All right, whoa. And then like the international students, they're walking around the same neighborhood, and they're like, this is a nice neighborhood. Like, wow, this is a lot better than the place that we grew up in. Wow. So I don't know, just I think that was like one experience that kind of like opened my eyes to see like, yeah, there's the same situation that could be interpreted in very different ways. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely crazy to see how there's like different opinions and like angles to see like the fact that there are certain people that would be like, whoa, this place is kind of sketch. I shouldn't be around here, because I feel like either, like you said, it could be known as the hood. And then there's some other people that would be like, wow, this is a really nice neighborhood. So it's just definitely, if I take it on my standpoint, if it was somewhere near, if we're talking LA, then like, somewhere around Compton, or even maybe like downtown LA, because I mean, that's just how LA is. I mostly grown up there, but I am like, well known enough to say that there is like a different type of place than somewhere that would be like maybe up there in like Torrance, because I mean obviously there are nicer places, especially when it comes to living there, but I mean it definitely means that you got to know like the spots, and or you just got to deal with it. You just gotta make sure your skin is tough, and you just got to take it for the people who are struggling out there, and all that type of stuff. But it's definitely interesting to see how it's like where like actually the person has grown up, and what kind of like rules that you have, because I mean, and it also makes me think that like, dang, some people got it like worse than me, because I mean, I know I be thinking like, I'm struggling right now. I'm in the trenches right now. I'm living in the hood.
Yeah.
But there's some people who don't even have like beds, and that's just like sleeping on the floor and sleeping on mats, and it's just like, and carpet, and it's just like, dang. So it definitely makes you start thinking like, you got to be more grateful and all that type of stuff. But that's definitely how it is. But I know you also said that it kind of can be a little bit complex when it even comes to your family, because as I know that you are married to a Black woman, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So a lot of Black sisters are smiling right now. Oh man, I mean,
I'm taken.
Yeah,
see, this is
no, they'll be happy that Asian man going for the Black sisters, huh? So so you like chocolate, right? But yeah. Do you think that it's like, actually, I remember when I was talking to my mom about this, when I was a little bit younger, I was like, yo mom, I'm about to try to, just trying to be a little bit more creative and try to like, just be out there of saying like, hey, I'm gonna be with a whole different race than me. For example, I would say like, hey, I would want to be with an Asian girl, and I would just be like, yeah, and I would try to like, I guess if, for example, if I was like to adopt like a child or even have an Asian child of my own, I would be like, yeah, I would definitely, have this Asian baby and I'm gonna feed her like all types of the stereotypes for like Black people, like, yeah, I'm gonna feed this baby like some fried chicken with watermelon, have some Kool-Aid, you know what I'm saying? And then but then she would say like, oh, that's like some type of problem, where it would be like, if like, let's say if the baby starts to go to school And then, she opens, or he opens his like lunchbox, and then he sees like fried chicken and like slices of watermelon in there, and a nice little like Kool-Aid pouch or something like that. And all the other Asian babies would look at him like, so I don't know if that's like, I mean, I guess I could see that actually happening if, if that actually came to reality. But I want to know, like, how does it seem with people in public to see that, like, for example, when you and your family go on walks, or you go to the beach, or you just go outside, do people ever look at you like that is like a nice, healthy, strong family, or that's just like, I wonder if like he's into that? Or like I said, do black women's kind of give you that side look like, okay, you know what I'm saying? So I want to know your thoughts on that. Is there like, any, not particularly problems, do like just people like kind of look at you funny, like, whoa, my phone just rang. Anyway, does anyone like kind of look at you and be like, that's interesting, or that's strong, or like, I love that, how, two races can actually be, an awesome, strong relationship?
Yeah. I mean, I wish I could answer it better. I
ahead.
know myself,
Mhm.
and I know that I'm like pretty dense. I'm like one of those people that's like unaware. like like my wife and I have taken like empathy tests or like personality tests and stuff like that. I'm like empathy is like the lowest of the low
Yeah.
of the low. So like as far as like reading people or like knowing what's going on, I'm pretty bad at it. So
Oh, wow.
like unless like somebody comes up to me and is like, I don't like what I'm seeing, then I'm like, I won't know. It's like, I mean, yeah, I mean, people, they like, they might see our daughter, and she's just cute. So like, just like smiles and compliments and things like that. And I don't think we really like experienced. That's again, right? That's me saying I don't think we experienced any of those like the negative looks or anything like that. I think I think that there's like been probably like a couple times, but where kind of like little tension kind of came through. This was with some family like in-laws that yeah. So yeah, none of like our like family, but it was like my brother's in-laws distant family that they like, I guess they're like more recent immigrants, I'd say, to the US from China. So I know I'm Chinese, so I know kind of like what that context is like to a certain degree, and I know that my people, they're from all different places, right? All different ethnicities and cultures. People can be racist and be have prejudices and things like that, and so we did experience some of that. But I think largely now I haven't really had any like negative experiences and things like that. I think just going back to what you were saying about the lunchbox experience scenario. I'm like, oh, that's an interesting thing. I think about like what kind of conversations that could bring up if your son or daughter had that. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think maybe your mom might have been like, I think there's something about awareness, right? Of like knowing where you came from, but you don't have to stay
locked in.
You don't have to stay with that. You're not right. But I think it's good to know, anyways, to answer your question, I'm not sure. Nobody's like come up to us and been like, I don't like this.
I mean, no one actually would like do that in
hopefully
reality.
right.
I know. No, it's just it's just interesting to me how like people can be like that. Like, I mean, especially when it comes to just being racist, like what for, man? And it's just I mean, I can talk for on and on about like how being racist is basically like meaningless. It's like you think I chose to be this color skin? Like, you know, I'm not a freaking like
Right.
video game character where I can customize what I look like. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like,
Right. Right.
you know, this is how I am. This is how I look. And unfortunately, like I guess for you, we got to live on the same planet. No matter how far I'll go, I'm still gonna be on the same rock as you. So there's technically no getting rid of me. If you don't like me, then that's it. So I really can't understand how people can be, you know, just so twisted minded just because of the color of my skin. Like, you know what I mean? You know, just because, you know, you see a color doesn't mean that you have to identify with this. And that could go into like, you know, different things where it comes to even like relationships, when like a girl gets like heartbroken and then she's kind of like into that mindset of just like, I hate all men and like da 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 da, and then it's just kind of like, you know, given it's making like, you know, kind of other fellows who actually are like, you know, nice guys who are like want to be faithful, just go like, you know, just give them like a lower shot just because all these twisted up other guys are just, you know, either doing it wrong or they just, you know, they just messing around, they being foolish, they being disrespectful or whatever it is, because I don't know the history. And I could tell you like multiple times where I shot my shot when it's just like, you know, because I mean they know me, like, you know, obviously, especially when I was younger, when I wanted to shoot my shot, I obviously would try to like introduce myself, try to be nice about it, like, hey, you know, you match the energy that I'm trying to be with. And anybody, either if it was like from school or just anyone from like the church or just anyone, and then they would always, you know, either try to brush it off because either when I was younger, it would always because I'm a weirdo or freaking just, you know, awkward, or it would just be like another guy hurt them, so therefore they're kind of taking a break. And it's just like, dang, bro, this one guy is messing it up for the rest of us. And it's just like, bro, come on, man. So it's definitely twisted up for me. But back to in a cultural difference and like racism, it's just crazy to me how, like, you know, and it's literally, to me, it's like the definition of like, don't judge a book by its cover. Because I mean, like, you don't know me. Sure, you know, if you saw me walking down the street at, you know, downtown LA, you would think, you probably, a lot of people would assume that I would like be in a part of the gang. And then they would probably stay away from me. Maybe even like, you know, people would be clutching their purse and will like probably pulling their child to the side. But it's just like, I'm walking to school, I'm going to the library, I'm walking to church. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like, you don't know. And if you want to know, come talk to me, come ask me like, hey, how you doing? What's going on? You know, what's your name? Where you going? You know, what you doing today? And then that could turn into a friendship or anything. But don't assume that, like, you know, just because I'm black, that like, you know, for some reason that I want trouble or that I am trouble. So definitely, and that's kind of, I don't even know how to say it. It's just, yeah, it's just crazy to me. But also in a relationship standpoint, there's also a lot of, I would say, stereotypes where it comes to black people. So that's kind of why I would love to open up my culture, and that's why I would love to be in another nationality that's different from mine. Because I mean, you know, a lot of stereotypes are saying like, hey, black people are going to be with black people, and you know, even other races, like white people are going to be with white people, and everyone, and especially when, like, you know, there are two different cultures coming together, like let's say like a white woman and a black man come together, I'm pretty sure they're gonna get like someone is gonna give some type of look at the dinner table, either if it's his black family or her white family, and it's just like, you know, who cares? But that's one of the things and one of the blessings on being in the church with many nationalities and all nations. It's definitely a blessing and a gift to, you know that you're not gonna get, you know, that like slight of judgment, no matter who you're gonna be with. but that's why also I kind of prefer to be, you know, in a different type of culture, just because I know I'm pretty sure as you are, you know, in a different culture, being with a black woman, that you are learning, and you know that you're actually experiencing, and you can actually hear her stories, just going through life in the past. I'm pretty sure you guys already talked about this because, you know, you guys are married and you have a child, but but you know, it's just I'm just saying, like, you know, at a learning standpoint, I would think it would be definitely healthy. But I already know, especially in my case, it's definitely difficult being with, you know, just any women, you know, because it's hard out here for brothers like me, and especially you know, being in a church is definitely kind of like limited. I was telling my mom about this, and I was just like, dang, we got a disadvantage right now, just because of, like, you know, when it comes to dating, and it's like dating in the church versus like the world. Whew, man, it's hard, and it's just like we're slightly at a disadvantage on, like, you know, when it comes to either, because I mean, like, what people are dating in the world just because, oh, they got money, or, you know, he looks good, or he, like, you know, he got the biggest muscles, or, you know, he's so well put together, or anything. And it's just like, yeesh. Yeah, but it's just crazy to me. I just talk so much. I'm looking at the closed captions. I'm like, dang, I'm saying paragraphs after paragraphs. Oh man, but yeah.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah. I just want to know, like,
That's
you know, like, what are your thoughts on, like, kind of my creativity and my openness on, you know, just kind of being like somewhat of like a, not really an outsider, but just being open to let any type of culture in, on also like a learning experience on, you know, relationships, because as you know, as I know, you already are in, like, you know, in a big cultural difference, you know. So would you say that, like, you know, either it can work and it could be, like, you know, healthy and strong?
Yes. I feel like I'm experiencing that right now. Yeah, I think we're I think, like, I feel like anybody that gets married or anybody that dates, it is a cross-cultural experience, like, and even if you're the same ethnicity, you know, like, still I feel like and I think, like, being in a multi-ethnic, or however you want to call it, like, relationship, it just kind of brings that more into the light of, like, okay, it's more obvious. But I think, like, in anybody, I mean, like, yeah, I mean, I think with, because there's different aspects and layers to culture too at the same time, right? So, like, even before I met my wife, there's Asian American people that have different levels of experience even now, right? Like, it's just like, for me, like, my experience, my grandparents immigrated from China, and so, you know, like, my parents grew up here in the States. They grew up speaking English. They didn't really do much, and so, like, when I grew up, it was, like, even more so removed culturally. But so, like, that's one experience, right? But then, like, just any other Asian American person, you could, you know, like, there's just so many different levels and like closeness and connection to, like, traditional culture, or like what that culture even really is, right? Like, I grew up not really celebrating Chinese New Year, Lunar New Year, any of the holidays, the Moon Festival.
Yeah.
We didn't do that. So like, I was like, okay. But then when, you know, started connecting with students, a lot of the international students coming from China, they're like, oh, what are we going to do for Mid-Autumn Moon Festival? I was like, I don't know what that is, but like, tell me, what do you do? Like, you know, like, stuff like that. So I think, like, just being in a cross-cultural relationship, ethnically, it's cross-cultural in any kind of way. But I feel like you know, just if you are dating somebody or if you're married to someone that's not your ethnicity, it's different ethnicity, then it's just more apparent and more obvious. So it kind of like forces you to like, okay, this is the thing we got to talk about, you know. But I think even then, right, like you should talk about how close you are to your parents and, you know, what communication patterns look like, you know, what moving forward in like as you're moving towards marriage. Of course, that's something you should talk about, right? Like whether you're the same culture or not, you know, same ethnicity or not. Things around money, right? Like how do you culture within each culture, there's generalizations and stuff like that, but how did you grow up doing it? What do you want to do? You know, it's like it's people are unique and people are different, so like any so I feel like but yes it is possible. I feel like with all that said, I do think that it's possible to have a strong, thriving, healthy marriage relationship. It really does just matter. Like what kind of two things that really stood out for me was, one, I had to really become self-aware and honest with my own ethnic identity and cultural kind of upbringing and all of that. But then number two, I had to really be willing to learn, I think, and like moments where you don't think you have to learn, and it's like, oh no, this is a learning moment. But yeah, can't make assumptions. It's always good just to ask clarifying questions of like, you know, like, yeah, you kind of have to come in with just zero assumptions. I think that helps. And just, so learning and having no assumptions, and I really had to learn a lot. Like my wife was even asking when our daughter came around, she's like, oh, what are we gonna do for Lunar New Year? I'm like,
wow, she even knows about that? Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure she
does.
That's crazy, to be honest. I mean,
but even she,
you know,
she asked about it. I mean, but like I really had no idea, you know. But I'm like, okay, it makes sense that, you know, our daughter's half Chinese, half African American, so we want to, like, you know, want her to know her roots and history and all that stuff. But I don't even know the history, so it's like, all right, I gotta if I want her to grow up in that way, I gotta learn that too. And you know, so
yeah, definitely. I mean, that's crazy. Oh my gosh, it's actually kind of shocking to me, the fact that, you know, your wife knows a little bit more about your culture than you do. But I mean, not that it's a shot, but it's just like, you know.
Well, I mean, I knew about Lunar New Year, but we just didn't really like celebrate or. Yeah, like what traditions do you do for that? Going hey Fat Choi, give red envelopes, go to the parade.
Yeah.
That's about it. Like, you know.
Hey, those red envelopes, man, they be coming in clutch. I ain't gonna lie to you. I remember. I mean, because I remember I did tell you that I did get like a red envelope at this, like, oh man, I was living with a sister in the church one time, and I guess like their neighbors just knew of me because I would either be like throwing parties at their pool, or, you know, my mom would be doing something super big and creative, you know, probably for me, either for high school or just me because my birthday or whatever. So we would definitely be making a lot of noise, partying and all that type of stuff. So and apparently I think I was graduating out of high school, and then they just came over, and they were calling for me, and I was like, what? But okay. And then I went upstairs, and then, you know, they was telling me like, yeah, I want to give you this red envelope, and it's known like for like a Chinese type of culture that red is a really like lucky color of theirs. So I was like, okay. And then I was like, you know, I appreciate it. And so I went down, or I opened it, and I saw it was like $100 bill, and I was like, whoa. And then I went down to my mom, and I was like, Mom, like $100, and her mouth was open. You know, so it was, it was awesome. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Yeah, that's like the biggest like type of learning, like of like a cultural thing that you know that you guys do. I'm like, dang, How come we don't do that? You know
There's
what I'm saying?
levels to it. There's
Yeah,
levels to it.
there's
Like, I
definitely.
mean,
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
I won't get into it, but like, I never
Uh,
got that much.
wow, really?
No, 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 no.
how much is like an actual like balance of like is there like a certain limit?
I don't know. I don't know. I know like growing up, my parents would give us like the red envelopes, but it'll be like dimes and quarters in there. We're like, woo, you know.
Mhm.
Like at school, like classmates and things be talking, and they would be getting those big red envelopes, like hundreds of dollars. I'm like, oh my gosh.
I got nickels and dimes.
How come I don't get that? Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I actually don't know. Yeah, I know that there's like certain customs, like if you're single, you're not married yet, then you give out the red envelopes.
Mm.
And then if like you're married, there's certain like things that happen and you don't have to or something like
Yeah.
that, and you want to like a certain way to give it, like with two hands, and you definitely want to give to the elders and stuff like that. But
Interesting.
yeah, there's levels to it.
Yeah, I guess so. Hey, I didn't know. So I mean, I literally was like, this red envelope is cool. Opened it up, $100 bill in there. I'm like, dang. So I mean, to me, it was awesome. That's like low key like a core memory, you know. So I'll never forget that. Low key shout out to them. But it's definitely awesome to see just how like someone can share their like cultural and like traditions signs to a different race that like I honestly had no idea that like this was kind of important and this is what you guys do, and and the fact that you even just said that there's levels to it, and it's just like I didn't know that. I'm pretty sure either you get a little or a lot, but it's still gonna be like a good chunk of money.
Something.
Yeah, it's still gonna be something. So definitely. Oh my goodness. But yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Hopefully, if God gives me a miracle, I could be with someone in a whole different type of culture. Just because, like you said, the fact that you're learning, you're being open about it, and it's just like, and it will be awesome. And because I mean, I kind of want to not hating on the black sisters. I like chocolate. All right, just I want to be very clear about that. I got nothing wrong with them. I'm telling you, bro. There's some beautiful women out there, even in my own race. Nothing wrong with the sisters. But on a personal standpoint, I would just rather I would love to break that chain and stereotype of like black people being with black people and all that type of stuff. And so, to be honest, I'm doing it for y'all. I'm trying to spread the culture. Y'all Chinese food be good. I ain't gonna lie to you. When it comes to food, oh my gosh, bro, I can eat for days, man. Because I mean, it doesn't matter to me on like where you come from, as long as the food is good, delicious. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I feel like it's kind of like in my DNA because I'm also mixed. I'm also mixed, with Mexican and African American. So I'm already like some type of like a fusion of different types of cultures. So I would definitely say that just kind of, to me, I would say like, hey, let's keep it going. Let's keep mixing it up, just to see where it can lead into. So definitely that's something that I would definitely would want and enjoy, and even if it doesn't work out, let's say I actually get my wish, or and then God blesses me with like a like I said, like an Asian woman, and we learn yada yada, something pops up and it doesn't work out, and it's just like I would be hurt, but it would just be like, yeah, that's an awesome learning experience, and I would still learn from it. And and then that would be it, and it was just like, man. And then I would definitely be overthinking and rethinking about my life, but still though, it would just be an awesome learning experience, like I said. It's
Yeah, I mean, even
go
what you
ahead.
mentioned too about like the learning experience, that's kind of how my wife and I started out. And when we were dating and stuff, she was like, "Who is this person?" Like, okay, maybe God, you're teaching me something, and so I'll learn. But then 6 years later,
Mm.
we're married, have a baby. So
That's
that learning
awesome.
experience turned into. But yeah, I feel like that's what dating is too. Like it's a learning experience. It's um, you learn so much about yourself, about people. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, man, that's awesome, bro. Like, I'm gonna be real, bro. I hope that I can like kind of have. I mean, I don't really know how strong your I'm pretty sure it's pretty strong your relationship, but I mean, I would love to have that cultural difference, and also that learning experience, and the fact to make it like work out. Oh my gosh, bro, that it makes me smile. Dude. It really does. I remember when I used to go to like the mall in California when I was living there, and I would see like a whole like cultural like couple. I would just be like, like I would be so happy because it's just like, look at that over there. Two people who are totally different, who don't even look the same, and you can see that it's working. Like it can work, and it definitely. Oh my gosh! And when it comes to like a spiritual standpoint of saying like how God said make disciples of all nations, and so and it's just like, and it can work because I mean, I'm a disciple, you're a disciple, man. And it's just like we're both following, Jesus. And it's just the fact that, we're both going the same path. Obviously, we don't have the same obstacles and like, struggles, but we're both going to be crossing the same finish line. You know what I'm saying? So it's just awesome to see that, knowing that I'm not alone either if it's my own culture or a different culture. So definitely, man. But so I think I got like one more question for you.
Okay.
When it comes to like a food standpoint, man, like what's what's something that you love that like your wife has made for you that is like not your culture? Like, has she ever made like fried chicken for you or something?
Yes, sir. She has. She makes the best, like the best. Yeah. No, it's so good. I feel like any kind of she's made all kinds of like soul food, the whole thing. She's like an amazing cook. She's an amazing cook.
Shout out to her.
Yeah, and it's kind of like to your point of like just culture and mixing and blending and stuff, like that's been, I think, represented in the food that we eat. It's like a blend of things that she knows how to cook, and brings to the table, things that I know how to cook, bring to the table. But yeah, there's, I think, her fried chicken and chicken wings, those are like, oh, so good. And she makes, I don't even know how she does it. Like she makes the best cornbread too. Like it's from the box. But like I don't like, I follow the same directions. We have the same, like it's a mix. You don't have to like, like how do you make it so good? I don't understand.
Hey, I don't know either, man. Like that's literally, dude. They got some type of magic, bro. For real, like I be having the same thing, bro. I be making like a tuna sandwich, and then it be alright. But when my mom makes it, oh my god, bro. I don't know how, but it's just better. For some reason, it's just better. I don't know what it is. Black women got that magic for some. I don't know what it is, man. But I mean, you're blessed that you have that. I'm blessed that I got it with my mom. But yeah, man. But would you say like that's kind of like your favorite dish that she makes for you?
Yeah, I mean that's standout. Like we've been having that for. That's kind of a go-to. Like, oh, what do we go eat? You can't with any kind of sides, really.
Yeah.
Or just by itself. Our daughter loves chicken wings too. Like it's funny because like chicken is chicken, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you cook. I grew up eating a lot of like chicken thighs,
Mm.
like stir fries, or you bake it or whatever. But like it's just it cooks different, and right? So like because it's like the amount of meat to bone ratio and
Mm.
the temperature and stuff, so it has a different consistency. I don't know what it is about it, but our daughter loves wings as well. So like we're, yeah, it's one of our go-to
Yeah.
meals.
Dang, that's nice. That's nice. Okay. Y'all probably gonna have that tonight.
Not gonna lie, maybe we might.
I mean, hey, yeah, man. So, also, I want to know where, how old is your daughter right now? She's 2, right?
Yeah, she just turned 2 this summer.
Okay. When the coronavirus hit back in 2020, I want to know how it affected y'all. Were you guys scared? Were you guys, kind of running back and forth? Were y'all grocery stores also like there was nothing in them? Toilet paper was gone. Water bottles was like going low. Was it crowded? Were you trying to keep your distance? Did you use Instacart so you didn't have to leave the house? Would you say that also like do you contribute your job because you said that you can work at home? Would you say that you like it now? Would you say that since now you've been working at home, it's also the effect that, since Corona hit, you don't really go out the house that much? Are you still scared right now? Or would you say that, like, what do you guys think about, like, when people are outside not really wearing masks at all? Or, something like that. Do you guys think that it's over? Do you guys think that it's like it's still going on? Low-key, it's kind of climaxing and people are just ignoring it? Like, what are your thoughts?
That's a good questions. No, I mean, so actually, yeah, I think like the lockdown and everything happened around March in 2020. Our daughter was born a few months right after that in June. And so kind of like all of the above. So yeah, it was quite a journey, I think, like, cause my wife, she had a really hard pregnancy. She was like throwing up a lot. Looking back, we're like, oh, maybe it was the secondhand smoke coming into our apartment, and that was like causing her to be more sick. But either way, she was like really, really sick the whole time through. So even the months leading up to the lockdown, it was just like, we're already kind of locked down in a kind of way. Like we couldn't, yeah, she was very pregnant. So like to the point where, we go somewhere even just to like, I don't know, whatever. And it's like, we can't go that far because we need to come back if she need to use the bathroom or empty the, things come up and stuff like that. It was just we didn't really travel too far anyway leading up to the lockdown. Then when it happened, we're like, oh wow, okay. Yeah, it was still like, so nothing really changed that much for us initially, just because we're kind of already like, not spending a lot of time with friends and family because we're like, okay, they just can't, or it's kind of like getting to that point, baby's almost due, throwing up, smells, all that stuff was just like too much. So we're kind of like, okay, we're hunkering down already a little bit, just getting ready for the baby, and like, oh my gosh, how do we get ready for the baby? Like, what does that even look like and stuff. So when that hit, it was kind of we're kind of in that space, and then leading up to the birth of our daughter, it was kind of uncertain too, because at that point things were like, I think at that point, like, a lot of hospitals are getting overcrowded, people with the coronavirus, in there, and people without who didn't have the coronavirus going into the hospital for something else and then coming out with coronavirus. It's just like, there was no vaccines, there was nothing. People like shortage of masks for doctors and stuff like that. And I think at the same time there was like the different riots and things happening in the streets and stuff between. It's just the election was happening. There's so much happening, right? So we're kind of like, yes, COVID, but yes, everything else, right? So we're kind of like, definitely trying to play it safe because we're like, all right, we need to take care of this baby. Like we don't want anything to happen. And so yeah, even going to doctor's appointments and things like that, we're kind of like a little wary, like if there's like a protest over here, maybe my wife should drive. If there's a police barrier, maybe I should drive. It's kind of like, what do we do? And then just like figuring out like some appointments I couldn't go into because they're like COVID and stuff like that. So we're like on the phone trying to talk to the doctors and just like advocating for health and all that stuff. So that was like March, April, May, June. And then like I think to sum it up, like the last couple of years have been quite a lot too of like figuring out how to be a parent. It's like, oh my gosh, people were like, oh yeah, you'll be really tired. I remember one of my uncles was like talking with me and my wife, and he was like, yeah, he just remembers being so tired. He brought his pillow to work and he like fell asleep during his lunch break. And I was just, that was his life as a new parent. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. And then like we entered into that stage and we're like, oh, that was us. Like, my gosh. I remember like sleeping through, like there was a meeting that I was in and it was like on Zoom because it's COVID. It was, still happening at the time. And like we had like a 10-minute break. And I was like, all right, I'm just gonna close my eyes right here on my desk. I closed my eyes. I woke up like 5 hours later. I was like, oh my gosh.
That is not a nap.
So no, it was, yeah, we're running so low on sleep, but yeah, coronavirus. I mean, we're kind of hunkering down already, and I think like I have a little bit of a condition myself with just my health, and so it's a little bit of a extra thing to consider, just as far as like how the vaccines and variants and stuff like that is gonna kind of interact with my own health at the same time. So and I think we're just being a little bit more cautious just because, I mean, just from my point of view, like I'm cool, if other people out there feel like you're good, hey, by all means, hey, do you. I'm not anybody to to step on your plans or go ahead, like that's totally fine. It's just that I know for us it's a little different, just because if my health was good, if our daughter, if her health was okay too, things would have been different. If it was just me and my wife, things would have been different. So it's like, okay, so I feel like we're definitely a little bit more cautious, I think, just because even just this past couple of weeks, our daughter had a cold, and it was just like hard, stuffy, runny nose all the time. So she's like kind of like having a hard time sleeping. She'll wake up and be like, it's hard, she doesn't know how to blow her nose yet. So she can't just be like, just get all that stuff out. And so we're kind of like trying to help her, but she doesn't want it. And because
you guys,
just all that, like
the thing. What's the?
We try. She don't like it. She fights us. So I'm like, this will help you.
Yeah. No babies like that.
Yeah. So it's all that. And so like, my gosh, what if it was COVID? And we're like, oh my gosh, so we're kind of like, all right, let's play it safe for a little bit more and things like that. Yeah, I mean, there was a point where I think last year, the school that I was working at was kind of going part in person and part online still, and so they were kind of like doing the hybrid thing. I remember like I got this like mask. It was like clear, so you could see my mouth and stuff, which is kind of cool, but it was still a mask, and I was still like geared up and everything, and people were walking around without masks and stuff like that. But I'm like, hey, that's cool. Hey, that's totally fine. Like I'm still a person. Like I don't kind of like what you were saying earlier, like the color of your skin. I'm like, if I have a mask or not, you can still hear me. You can still talk with me. I'm still a person. Like what's the point? And you feel good. I feel good too. What's wrong? Anyways, but
definitely. Okay. I mean, because there are people out there who, especially when I took my vacation back to California, there were actually still people who were wearing like a lot of masks, especially, and when I came back, there's like barely anyone wearing masks, especially like, here in Texas. So to be honest, it's so weird to like kind of see there are still people who are like in that world where, where it's just like, it's still like people think like it's some type of trend of some sorts, and they like, think like, oh, the trend's over, like, oh, the corona's over, because, oh my gosh, as soon as corona dropped, I, going through social media, seeing nothing but memes, people making songs about it, all that type of stuff. So
Right.
And I was just like, dang. And especially like, yeah, 2020, oh my gosh, it will be foreverly known as the worst year, especially of my life. Oh my gosh. But and then now there's people out there, at least if I say in California, there's people that they're like going, I would say it's a nice balance. There's people that still wearing masks, people who don't wear masks. And then but over here in Texas, no one is wearing a mask. I guess some people will wear a mask if they're like working, but that's it. Like, you'll go to the grocery store and no one's wearing a mask except for like the cash register guy. But that's it. So to be honest, I honestly don't know, because I know that there's people out there who are still scared and have a reason to kind of be a little bit more cautious, still follow the like, hey, 6 feet only rule, and all that type of stuff. And it's mostly people who have like either babies at the house or freshly new parents, stuff like that, or even just people that has like have kind of like their own health problems of their own. So I know that there's people out there who kind of like still are trying to play it safe, trying to like, not really either go out as much or try to keep their distance or even still wear the mask and all that. But yeah, that's good. I mean, I'm glad that you don't really have an effect by it, because it's kind of like you already been living in that like kind of indoor style already, just because of the baby. It's actually really good. And the fact that you kind of really even don't mind that, like you said, if I'm feeling good, you feeling good, we're both good. And so what is like your biggest challenge when it comes to having a child, I would say?
Biggest challenge? I don't know. That's a good question. I'm like, I think it's just probably like a internal thing more so of like, man, I really want to, I want to be able to raise her up, you know what I mean, in a way that is good. I want to raise her well. I'd love it if she, came to know Christ and made the decision to follow him and stuff like that. And I think just like a lot of it's just like hopes that I have probably of like, I mean, she's her own person, it's like definitely. So young, you can see it already. And just, I think like that realization and just kind of like, I hope, that she makes the good choices in life. And, I hope I'll be able to be a good example and train her and just be a good example for her, and just modeling it myself. So that's kind of, I don't know if that's what you're looking for, but no, I think about like, it's not too hard. Like, I mean, now it's not too bad. Like, like the sleep and things like that. Like, I mean, it's nice to, my wife is like really nice and she'll like let me sleep Like even that time, she probably came in and saw me knocked out, and it's just funny. Like when we see each other like knocked out, like yeah. But we're like, oh yeah, get some sleep. We'll take care of each other. We'll switch off and things like that, and help with taking care of her and stuff like that. So that's it's not too bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd probably say that it's like kind of like a, I don't know if it's like a daunting task, but it's just a massive task, right? Of like everything, even the things we're talking about, right? Like it's like cultural. I want to be able to interact with people from other cultures, and I want to be able to, have good rhythms, like having, like times where you're how to regulate emotions and like all kinds of things. I just like would love for her to, to have and to gain. But it's kind of like it's not just a matter of like copy paste, or just like, oh, download this program. It's something that needs to be learned. It needs to be experienced. We could, as parents, we could do what we can, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like up to her. It's up to her to make those choices, right? Like I remember working in like after school programs for elementary school kids, and you give them the choice, right? Like, are you going to do this or that? If you do this, there's consequences for it, right? You're not saying it's a bad choice. I mean, you just know that there's consequences to it. Yeah. So it's like, so yeah, kind of the similar thing, right? Like I want her to be able to have a good head on her shoulders of like, how to make decisions and do things, be her own person. But yeah, I do have hopes, yeah.
I wonder when it comes to when she eventually becomes a teenager and she starts.
Oh, don't say that.
Yeah. When she becomes a teenager, bro, it's gonna happen. So you low-key got to be ready for that, and it's gonna be a whole new challenge. This is like low-key level 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like 55, level 70.
Yes. Oh man, but yes, when she starts going to school and kind of living on that generation, because this generation is no offense but twisted. Because I mean, I don't know if you've seen any, but like I've been telling this to a lot of parents and grandparents of like, the world is changing all the time. Whereas like how often do you see a child, play outside, or like, you go to the playground and you guys see, each other playing old tag? Like, nah. Most of them are basically, they have their own iPads, they have their own little tablets, playing little fun games and all that type of stuff. And it's just like, I don't know.
It's different.
Yeah. It's definitely different. So I would say, but also even when, if your daughter grows out or goes into that type of generation, and also if she even becomes even more older, let's say she starts to like boys, that she starts to like boys. I feel like, are you gonna be like that? That tough dad, like, what you doing in my house, boy? You know what I'm saying? Like, are you gonna pull him aside into the basement and have a talk?
You already know. You already know. Like, don't mess with our daughter.
Oh my goodness! I feel like it
might look a little different. Like, let's go out for lunch. Let's get to know each other a little bit. Like,
oh my gosh, you are funny, bro. Yes. Your bad cop is probably hilarious. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. To be honest, I would love to see
I could
that.
switch though.
Oh,
like, this is all you're seeing right now? Like, yeah, oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah. If it comes to it,
Yes,
I mean, yeah. You should have seen like Halloween Horror Nights, like at Knott's Berry Farm, Six Flags, Universal. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm a different person.
Okay. I like it. All right.
Don't mess with me.
Yeah.
On my own. Don't do it. It's not gonna end well for you.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh, you are hilarious, bro. For some reason, I would love to see that, bro. It would be hilarious. You trying to throw down? Oh my gosh. But yeah. Okay.
You just ask my wife.
Yeah.
She's seen it.
She's seen it. Oh my goodness. For some reason, I don't know when it comes to this could be a racial thing on my part, but there are certain people in different cultures. I'm not saying all of them, but like there's certain people, like Asian people, who like look so nice that I feel like you got no anger in your system, and I'm just like, how, bro? Because I mean, like most of y'all, you know, y'all are so nice and like, you know, friendly, especially when it comes to other people. But this man already shaking his head. No, I've never seen like you guys like angry, like mad, you know, like scrunching your face mad, you know. I've never seen that with like certain people, and it's just like I want to see it, huh? Like I know you got like a beast in you, you know what I'm saying? Like right now, Matthew, you always smiling, you know, having a good time. Oh my goodness. But I know, like, I'm pretty sure there's going to be certain things that, like, you know, either if it's your daughter who made you mad or your wife that made you mad or just anyone in general that made you mad, for some reason I can't see it. I can't see you really getting mad or like arguing or just, you know, or even like losing control in a you know, in a certain standpoint. So, but I don't know if that's just me. I mean, I oh my gosh, I even got some friends who are like super nice, and it's just like, do you even have the emotion of anger? You know? And it's like, is there anything
Like, have you ever experienced it before?
Yeah, like for real. Like,
Yeah.
do you even have that? Because oh my gosh, I mean, you know me, man. I can go crazy. I can go crazy, bro. My people know me. But nah, with Asians, bro, especially Asians. I mean, it definitely would surprise me if I even like see like an Asian yelling and like getting mad, because I'm just like, huh? Like what? So I mean, but I know that I have like friends who for some reason, I don't know why, but a lot of people, especially like Asian children, would say that Asian parents be strict, and it's just like, how, you know? Because I mean,
Like, what does that look like?
yeah, exactly. Because I mean, for example, if you invited me and my mom over for dinner, and y'all are so nice and, you know, nice and, you know, clean and happy and just having a good time, and then it's just y'all just get mad for some reason. I don't know, man. I would love to see how like interesting it is when Asian culture kind of, you know, gets that like out of water. You know what I'm saying? How it's just like, you know, because I know a lot of Asian children kind of go through a certain type of like strictness with their parents, especially the ones that be like, oh, you gotta be a doctor or a lawyer, you gotta go to school or something like that. And it's just like, dang, like for real? Like, you know, it's like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've never experienced it, therefore I haven't really grown up with it like an Asian, you know, mother. But I have been, you know, with a lot of Asian cultures, and I have been surprised when I actually like hear certain people argue, and it definitely throws me off because it's just like, whoa, I didn't know you had that in you. So, but okay. I mean, I see you out here.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of layers to that. I mean, you know, I think the biggest part of it, I think, is just like how we exhibit anger, or we tend to exhibit anger, or, you know, negative emotions. So like even my wife and I, you know, like we have to constantly, like, you know, like the same, like I go back to that story about the students, right? Like they're in the same place, you know, like see the same houses, same cars, same people, everything, but they have just totally different perspectives, right? And the same thing happens multiple times with my wife and I. And I don't think it's specific just because she's Black and I'm Asian. I think it's any kind of person that, you know, like you grow up with certain scripts, right? Of like, oh, like for example, one thing that I grew up with was like my parents had this rule, like don't talk on your first serving of food. You have to eat your first serving of food, and then you get your second serving, second plate, then you can talk, you know. So okay, that's, you know, so I'm like been conditioned, you know, like from age 0 you know, till I moved out, like conditioned
Wow.
to not talk during my first plate of food, right? So we would always try to like, or I would always try, I'm one of the talkers in my family, if you haven't noticed, but
Oh, yeah. I love it, bro.
but you know, I'll try to like get a smaller first plate, you know, try to do different things or whatever. But you know, I just was conditioned to do that, right? So like even now today, like, or not today, but even when my wife and I first started dating and stuff, and you know, like it's just something that I realized about myself, like, oh, when I'm eating, I don't really talk much, you know. And it's like, oh, okay, little small differences, right? But things that like could be interpreted different ways. For me, I'm like, oh, I'm it's just normal for me. It's not a problem, you know. It's, for my wife, she might be thinking something totally different of like, oh my gosh, he doesn't like me, or what's wrong with him? You have a bad day? Like, what's going on? You know, I don't know. You know, just like you have totally different perspectives and stuff. So I feel like in terms of like anger and like negative emotions and like things that get under our skin and stuff like that, like for a lot of Asian people, like it just goes back, like far back. I know like in China, there's a lot of influence from Confucius, and he was this guy who like this philosopher. A lot of Chinese culture is like impacted by his teaching and stuff like that. A lot of it is like you follow authority. You know, there's like all these sayings and proverbs, like the nail that sticks out gets hammered down. Don't rock the boat, don't make any waves, you know, like stuff like that. So you really like it's conditioned. It's years and years and generations of this kind of teaching that's kind of been passed down. And so, you know, like culture kind of plays a huge role in that. And even me, who, you know, like my parents grew up here, they were born here in the States. They grew up speaking English like in school and stuff. So they're like, you know, fluent, and they don't speak Chinese. They only know it conversationally, just to like get by, if like to survive. You know, they're like, but yeah. So like, and then here I am, right? Like I don't know any Chinese except for the little bit that I learned in college. But you know, it's just like, even though we're distanced from it, I realized that there's like even tidbits of that culture that's been passed down to me, even like unknowingly. And so like even like you talk about indirect and direct communication, and there's like, you know, different ways that I've been impacted, and I grew up kind of like hearing communication a certain kind of way. And so like you could be like upset and not pleased with somebody. You could be angry, and you know, but you could say it in a different kind of way that like people who speak that indirect language will know exactly what's happening, where you don't have to like blow up or express that disapproval in a certain kind of way, you know. So I think like it's just different, and it goes back to that learning piece, right? Because like everything that you know from, you know, ways that you've grown up and things that you've learned over the years of just living and being, right? It's like, oh, well, of course this leads to that, and that's how you do this, and it's totally different, and you know, it can everything is fair game for discussion of like, oh, like I wonder where does that come from? I wonder where, whatever, you know. Yeah, so it's kind of, there's a lot to it. I think in terms of like, yeah, I think that in terms of like anger and stuff like that, I think a lot of it is like there's this thing called saving face, which is basically you want to put on a front for other people, and you don't want to look bad, and so there's like that's a huge component of Chinese and Chinese American culture. A lot of Asian cultures have that too. And it's big, you know. It's so big that like there are people that buy expensive cars just to look good, but they're like going into debt because of it. I'm like, why are you doing that? Like just, you know, just look good. And you know, there's people that you know, you you look good and you put a smile on when you're in public, but when you're behind closed doors, ooh, you're gonna get it. There's a lot of there's stuff like that, and it's yeah, there's a lot to it. There's a lot of layers and a lot of factors and things like that, but I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a lot to it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, it's definitely crazy just to see, because I mean, I don't see it, but I know that you have it. You know what I'm saying? Either if it's like the way that I'm thinking about it, it's not probably the way, like, because I can't. When I say, like, I can't see you going, I feel like I'm like angry, like, it's probably, that's probably not how you certainly like express your anger. It can probably be, hey, there's like some type of communication issue, or I'm gonna need like a couple of minutes, maybe even an hour to, like, I need to cool off. Let me, like, let me go down, let me catch my breath, and like or anything. But I guess, to clarify and to make sure that I got it right, it's just how, you guys all express emotion differently, and how, and also in the ways of trying to get it under control is also how you do it differently. Because I know a nice, strong, healthy relationship would come to communication. Like, hey, I can sense that there is, kind of like a vibe change, or like you're angry. We have time. Let's talk about it, and let's try to work through this, instead of And then there's the ones that just argue all the time, and then everything just kind of goes out of whack. And I'm pretty sure even for guys, pride kicks in, and it's just like I'm pretty sure there's no standpoint of people saying, like, okay, you're right, and then let's just move on. And I mean, there's nothing coming back from that, especially when it comes from an argument, because it's just like whoever is the louder one is still gonna be, I guess, is gonna be known as right. And then it always goes downhill, and it's always like bad news, and then it could lead to like end of relationships or whatever. But it just shows you how much you can see in a person, how much they kind of learned, where they can control that much like of an anger, and how to handle it in a safe, like way. I'm actually gonna end this podcast here. Thank you so much, Matthew, for joining me and just talking about how the different experiences when it comes to Asian culture and your culture, even in learning experience with the your relationship with being in a outside culture of yours. So I definitely appreciate it. But I'm your host, Turner Fernandez. This is my friend Matthew, and we'll see you guys in the next session. Peace, y'all.